Welcome to This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty, the number one destination for Seinfeld fans. This is Two Up and Two Down. Here's our producer, Chris, to start us
off. All right,
off.
welcome back to another episode of Two Up and Two Down. Today we have the Big Salad, season 6 episode. So, Tony, let's go to you. What do you got for your first up?
Yeah, and I'm happy I'm going first because I wanted to get this one in. My first thumbs up is George and Elaine in the cab ride, where George starts to hint around the fact that he actually paid for the big salad, even though, the girl's the one who handed it to Elaine. One of the best minutes of Seinfeld, one of the best minutes of television. Both actors, incredible scene. Elaine and George both. That's my thumbs up.
Nice. Very good. All right. Over to you, Chris. What's your first up?
I had a feeling you'd go there. I did not even write that one down because, I knew you leaned towards it so much. My first up's going to be, when you think about the big salad, I don't even think about this scenario when I rewatched it again, but it's the whole Gendison story with Kramer. Kramer coming home, talking about how Gendison picked up the ball and cleaned it, and the whole, without rules, there's chaos. And then the whole manager umpire thing. Kramer doing that whole thing, getting in Jerry's face, gets me every time. It's classic Kramer, kind of his life outside, the main four, and all these kind of characters he plays with, and all kind of the trouble he gets into. So the Kramer Gendison stuff when he first, came home, my first one's up.
All right, very good. And Gendison also sets up all that OJ stuff that we see later on, which is great stuff as well. So, Tony, what's your second up for this episode?
Yeah, and I obviously agree with some of that too as well. And so my second up, though, I'm actually sticking with Costanza. We'll get to this. I think this is a great Costanza episode. I love Costanza with the girlfriend both times in the coffee shop. He can be pedantic, but more so that Bobby Hebert, H-E-R-B-E-R-T. Great Costanza. I just love he's just a fun name to pronounce. I'd play with dolls when I was a kid. He's trying to keep up with this woman who's obviously above his league, and intellectually, and frankly probably looks too. But just the way George is trying to kind of fit in with her on those conversations, mainly around the Bobby Hebert, which we all love every time football season rolls around. That's my second thumbs up.
All right, Tony. Over to you, Chris. What's your second up?
Bobby Hebert, yeah, great Falcon, great Saint. There's a good amount of ups here. But you know what? I'm going to go with, the decent Newman here, but I'm going to start with what set the tone for this whole episode. And I just loved, the early scene when Jerry and Elaine actually bump into Julie and George. I don't know. Just Jerry and Elaine together always is great. When they bump into other couples, it's fantastic. And Elaine explaining the big salad to George, and George was just so cocky and little different. George, I think, little seeds in here that are leaning towards the later years, but still really strong George, and just how cocky and comfortable he was in front of Jerry and George, and obviously they all meet up later. But that opening scene on the street, loved it. Second thumbs up.
Yeah, that's a good scene too. All right, so we got the two ups out of the way. Tony, we're going to start over with you. Your first down. What do you got for a down?
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple of small downs, but I do have one kind of bigger down, and I don't know if I'm stealing one here, but this stationery store guy, not only the guy, just the whole gag, just a running bit that he keeps calling Jerry's house, and Jerry's getting more and more upset with him. Don't love it. I mean, I guess the guy actor is supposed to be a little bit weird and annoying. Maybe that's what it is, but it's not even so much him as it's the gag. I feel like it's kind of a weak Elaine storyline. That kind of they just keep dragging out with him calling Jerry's apartment over and over again. Not much else really there. So I think that's really one of the few downs in this episode, in my opinion, is really that Elaine storyline with the stationery store guy.
All right, but I like it that they got to throw in the Rolomec 1000, the pencil that she needed to get. All right, Chris, over to you. What do you got for your first down?
That's a really good down. I didn't even have it, but good point on it. Yeah, that's dragged on. It's funny. I had the pen guy hitting on Elaine as an up, hitting on Elaine, because how she just kind of caved and gave in, I always enjoyed that. So anyway, I'll digress. So stationary guy you didn't like, I hate to do this. I'd love to have her on the show, but down on this episode is Julie, George's girlfriend. It just, and again, she's a great actress. I know that was intended, but every time I watch it, I kind of cringe. She annoys me. The whole salad thing. She shouldn't have taken credit. I'm with George on this 100%. I know it's a small thing, but and then for her to nitpick and attack him in the, in Monks again, just wasn't right. Not a fan of Julie. Not a huge down, but a down.
No, I get it. I definitely get it. So, Tony, let's go back to you. Well, what's your second down?
Yeah, I kind of liked Julie. I get where you're coming from, though, but I thought she played the part well. I liked the way she played off George. She was much taller than him. She had this condescending thing. That's your point, though, I think, is that she was a little too annoying. So, but my down here is an odd one, I think, but I think I'm going to throw it in there. I put it in bold on my list here, so I must have to want to call it out. I have a few others, but this is an interesting one. Who calls Jerry to tell him about Genderson? He's sitting in his apartment. The phone rings. He picks it up. What? Really? Hangs up. You're never going to believe this. Genderson and Kramer. Who's calling him? We all know his only friends are George, Elaine, and Kramer, and they were all accounted for at this point. So an odd little thing for me to just get a random phone call that's just telling him about Genderson. I don't know why, but I just picked up on it again last time I watched it, and it always kind of irked me. It's an odd down, but that's what I'm going with is this mysterious friend of Jerry's we never probably hear from or see again.
All right, interesting. I never really picked up on that, so I'll have to rewatch it and see. Chris, over to you. What do you got for your down here?
Yeah, look at Tony here getting minutia. I picked up on that, but I thought about it because people call. I don't know. It's probably a big New York story at the time in the news, but I'll get nitpicky here too, and it's around Jerry as well. I kind of had this theme throughout these downs and ups, and him not having beer and this, that, and the other thing, but him not wanting to go out with Margaret. Because of Newman, I don't know. I could see in high school doing something like that, but when you're in your 30s and you got a good-looking girl, essentially wanted to, take care of you, and Jerry just he gets thrown out of the car. It's kind of funny, but I never understood why, the whole Newman thing totally threw him off. I get it in some capacity, but for me, that was kind of a weird kind of storyline. He went an ex-girlfriend of Newman. They could have went about it in a multitude of ways, but for me, Jerry not wanting Margaret, it's like that.
Yeah, I'm surprised Kramer didn't swoop in after that, since he found her to be a natural beauty. So that's the 2 ups and 2 downs. So let's go over to grades. Tony, what do you have for a grade for the big salad?
Yeah, interesting. I actually switched those around just to touch on that. I gave Newman an up on this one wholeheartedly. I love that storyline. I agree with Jerry. I wouldn't touch anyone that was with Newman. Maybe other people. I get your point on that, but it's Newman. That's the whole thing. How could you like Newman? And also, I put as a down Jerry getting thrown out of the car. Just as a side note, I just think that's kind of who's throwing him out of a car? Come on now, that's as cartoonish as it gets. Anyway, grades are what we're here for. I've already talked about I love Costanza in this episode. We've touched on Genderson. I love that storyline. I love the Jerry Newman back and forth. In fact, I think Newman is what elevates this grade for me, and it elevates it from a B to a B plus. My grade on the big salad is a B plus. I think it's a solid episode. Put in the top 50. I think when you're talking top 50, you're bordering, you're definitely a B or above. And I'm going to give it that one more notch. And just from George, the big salad and everything else, the cab scene I love. So B plus for the season 6. Larry David written, the big salad.
All right. There you go. So Chris, what do you got for your grade here?
Yeah, I have a grade, and I think I'm changing it slightly. We're not way off here, but when I rewatch this again, and I get the Big Sal, I get all that. And I remember live, of course, and everything he says makes sense. But for me, it's just there's something a little missing. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. George is great, but there's pieces here of George that are foreshadowing that I just know, right? I mean, I could play with dolls. Doesn't seem like a gender thing. Stupid throwaway lines like that. He's getting a little too cocky. The whole thing. Listen, it's still a really solid episode. I had B+, but as you can see, my enthusiasm for this is not that strong. I'm giving it a B. Agreed. The Newman stuff was good. I'm just nitpicking that Jerry not wanting to go out there. It's crazy. But, him doing Toodaloo was great. But like I say, if a guest star has to elevate an episode, that's a problem to be a great episode. So the B for the Big Sal.
Palisades gets mentioned.
That's a good mention. It's a nice local mention.
Listen, I'm here for America, not just New York. All right.
Very good. All right, guys. So that wraps it up. B+ from Tony, B from Chris. So that wraps up the Big Salad, and we'll see you guys at the next episode.